Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Splinter Cell hard difficulty video walkthrough. We are still in the CIA headquarters of Mission 3, and we're moving into, I think it's the server rooms that we have to mess with here. The backup battery power room for the servers, I think that's what it is. And I'm looking between my codes to see which one fits the door. And that was a strange one, wasn't it? I was pressing the numbers and they weren't coming up on that screen. I have no idea why it did that. Very strange, but this is the wrong door to do first. You can access this area from that room. I prefer to do it from this one over here. You can drop into this next room, you can take out the guy, and then you can get a really nice shot on that guy and take him out as well. But one thing I've always really loved about Splinter Cell is Sam's outfits. We can all agree that the visuals here, aside from that, the thermal on these games looks amazing. It's so funny that we have all this new technology that makes thermal look so different to what we originally envisioned it to be, yet it always looks inferior in my opinion. Like all these fancy thermals, like what Alien vs Predator did, where everybody was red and orange and it was all crazy and stroby. Like fuck that shit. Give me some 1987 Predator thermals, grainy static, all those primary colours. That shit just looks awesome. The only thing that's even remotely as cool as that is Riddick's vision in pitch black. Like, when I first saw that film, I wanted those eyes, and I appreciate they are completely worthless in the grand scheme of things, and just not useful at all, because we predominantly have sun when we're awake, and then night when we're not awake, so I'd constantly have to wear goggles, and I'd be an inferior human being when it comes to the sun. But those hues of pink and purple, oh, to die for. Swear to God. Like, if I was gay, or if I could somehow change myself into being gay, I think only then would I fully appreciate just how amazing those tones are. And that's probably homophobic to say, but it was a joke. I'm only playing. I love gay people. You know, they have absolutely nothing to do with me, you know, what they want to do sexually. Because if my sexuality had anything to do with anybody else, I would probably be in prison. Which makes me sound like a paedophile now. So I'll probably end this before I dig my hole any deeper, as much as this grave is getting mighty comfy right now. But this is the server room we need to access, so hit this computer, and then we're going to be making our way out of this area back through the way we came. But instead of going on the right, we're going to go on the left towards the area we haven't explored. But as I was saying, his outfits, I love his outfits on this game. And I love them on all the games, except for maybe the most recent ones. There's something about the suits they gave you in these games, even though the visuals don't look too great. They just looked cool. They had those awesome straps. They were all the poly fibers and just awesome. And each one, they got a little bit different. It changed a little bit. Sometimes it had the colour camouflage on it if you were in the jungle. And it was just consistently great. And as we've got more technology and we've been able to customise the suits we wear and pick different ones, none of them have done it as much for me as these older visual styles have and these older designs. And I always found that kind of a little bit like Sod's Law. As soon as I can control my outfit, the outfits aren't what I want. You know, it's just that irony of life, I guess. But I really, really like the aesthetic of these outfits. And same with the lights. There's something about the iconic lights from Splinter Cell that make no sense in logical universes, but in this game just kind of give it that great feeling. You know, you're running around with iPhones stuck all over you, yet nobody can see them, and it was even turned into a mechanic in Double Agent, if anybody remembers. You have a light on your suit which goes green and red. When it's green, nothing can see you. When it's red, everyone can see you. Fucking Stevie Wonder could see you when it's red. And it made that game really difficult at first for me to adjust to. Ooh, strategy that I just did then. I made noise by moving quickly to get him out of the room so I could jump through the window. The window I jumped through made it look easy, didn't I? That took me about 10 jumps to get through that window, my first attempt, and then I reloaded to do it better, and I got really lucky then, because the detection is dog's piss, is what it is. But this room here has two cameras. These cameras cannot be killed. I wanted to shoot that one just to show you, but did you notice what else happened? I didn't miss at that range, because the rifle is a beast. This room here looks really intimidating, but it's not too bad at all. Be aware there are people walking around, this is the CIA, and watch this for a shit your pants moment. Whew! Really, really close, did not expect him to be there. The noise then you heard, if you're adept at hearing, is the sound of a camera being onto you, so make sure you get back in shadow or put something between you and the camera. If you don't, instant alarm. Very dangerous. But I'm trying to jump over here so I don't have to go down into that lit lobby, and it's having none of it. And whenever you jump and you mess up, you make a ton of noise, and it's the combination of the detection and the noise aspect of jumping that can make some situations very dangerous and a little bit unfair on the player. This is something that you never come across in the later Splinter Cells because it all works so goddamn well. And it could have worked in this. They give you an option in a drop-down menu to access doors, and whenever you're close to the door, you press the option and Sam automatically goes to the door and starts fiddling with it. That is the same option that these games will give us later on to climb things. Yet this game never thought to do that, and I always wonder why. And I'm kind of curious how I can walk this fast on this game. I've been playing Pandora Tomorrow, and walking this fast would have had me spotted right then. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense, like you're walking in grass, and grass is obviously a lot more quiet than gravel, yet boom, people see you, or they hear you, which is probably a better way to finish that sentence. So if you shoot the light out here, the camera can't see you, and you can access this keypad in your own time. Funny story here, guys. I was so bad at this game my first time through, I have vivid memories of this being really difficult because I did not shoot the light out. Instead, I waited for the camera to move away, and in the time it took it to strafe back, I put the code in, I got back up against the wall, waited for it to look away, and then I opened the door when it was on its blind spot. Not a very good strategy, but that's the way I thought you had to do it back in the day. How misinformed I was. And that's what's so refreshing about playing this game. When I played this game, there was no internet to look shit up on. Not in my house. Like, you were on your own, and I think people like DSP and people who are quick to blame a game for its failings even when it's probably you, if they'd played this generation of gaming where there weren't really that many waypoints, you had to explore to figure things out, I think a lot of the things that they criticise games for wouldn't be seen as criticisms anymore. They would just be seen as necessary aspects of playing a game. You know, the whole notion of looking around your environment to find where you're supposed to go, to me, is what games are. To some people, you know, it's bad design because you should be shown where you're meant to go so that there's never the ambiguity of going the wrong way. Like, half the fun in a game is going the wrong way and finding some cool shit that you wouldn't have got if you knew exactly where to go. It's such a strange mentality to have, a bizarre philosophy that anybody who's gamed on pretty much every generation, you know, since the good old days of the Commodore and the systems before that, you know, you were happy if the game came on, let alone if you could move and do things. Like, you were happy if the second screen loaded and the entire thing just didn't crash. So it seems almost crazy when people complain about truly silly things. And I don't mean the stuff that I analyse and I critique, because I think a lot of the stuff I critique, 99% of the time is valid. Every so often there's something in there that is completely preferential in opinion that some people might disagree with. But for the most, it's valid criticism, or I believe it to be, and I always wonder if the people who, you know, say things like, why didn't the game tell me where to go, how was I meant to know this enemy had this move, or what was I meant to do to avoid it, it's trial and error type sentiments, if they feel the same as I do, like the stuff that they're criticising the game for or picking it up on is stuff that they think is truly valid, because at that point it's like a defect in the brain or a delusion, which we all do it, I guess. It's what keeps us from realising every day that we are one step closer to dying, and nobody knows what happens when we die, and it's a truly terrifying prospect that none of us get to avoid. Ooh, a little piece of trivia for the Morrowind ones. Whenever you see a crossfade in this walkthrough, it means that the level has transitioned via a loading screen. That means you will get an automatic save. Every single automatic save is a different save slot to a manual and a quick save. This is important to understand because when you get the save bug, if you get it, where it corrupts your information and when you try and reload it boots you to the fucking dashboard of the PlayStation 3, the autosave will be fine. However, the games literally autosave 2 to 3 times per level, and these levels are an hour long, give or take. Because you're not seeing the mistakes on some of these runs, which add up to that extra playtime. You're seeing every single situation as it happens, happening the way you want it to happen in your run, or in certain circumstances you're watching it happen slightly wrong, and I'm accommodating for it and still managing to succeed, which you will undoubtedly have the same kind of experiences. When you come out of this room, be careful, because there's a guy walking around those office partitions. He caught me a few times on this part because I didn't know his pattern. And it's times like this when I wish I had, is it an eidetic memory? I think it's called. I always used to say photographic memory, but apparently that's different. There are a lot of different denominations of memory, and mine is a horrible one that gets better with age. Mine is like a fine wine. And it'd be really cool to remember all the minute details and the minutiae of things. Because can you imagine if you had this entire game's guards' patterns memorised, and you had one of those memories where you can just kind of draw on that piece of information? How fucking awesome would that be? You could every single time know the best path through every level. You could become almost like a machine. That'd be cool. But that is a measure of dedication reserved for people like speedrunners, and unfortunately that is something I will never be, because my mind wanders. Ooh, this is an interesting room. So situations like this are some of the most fun in the game. You enter a room, it changes your awareness of how the rooms were going to work, because you get like a preconceived notion that most of the rooms will be the same, and then they throw this at you, where the projector, if you stand in front of it, you're going to alert people. And there's a ton of people in here. You obviously have to get through that door, but there's a guy guarding it and there's people in here. And you're assailed on almost every angle at this point. Do I mess with the projector and that somehow gives me an opportunity to sneak past? Is he going to move, that guy, so I can get past him? If I go to him, will he move then? And then when I try and back up, all these people will move and it'll pincer me into a bad situation. All these little decisions that are happening all the time that make these as entertaining as they are, when in effect all I'm doing is sitting in this homemade like CIA cinema room watching people talk. And if you were to tell somebody that, sounds boring, and maybe you watching right now, it might very well be boring, but it's anything but when you're playing, because every step is potentially fatal. Every miscalculation, you know, every serendipitous movement that gets you exactly where you need to be, it feels great. It feels so satisfying. And I think that's something that stealth has moved away from, and I couldn't put my finger on exactly why. Maybe it's because it works better. I don't know. There is maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe I'm literally talking out of my childhood. But there's just something about this game, and indeed Pandora Tomorrow as well, that I'm having a ton of fun with. But if you're quick enough here, you can get through this door without it closing. That's why I did that slightly faster crouch walk, and then as soon as I got close, I slowed myself down, and it'll save you from having to access the door. There are a few situations like that coming up later on, where the game wants you to use the thermal sensor, or the thermal goggles, to see what buttons the person pressed. You can pretty much skip all of them if you're eager enough, and I'm going to show you a really good way of doing so for the most. It was I should really start that sentence again, seeing as how I just mumbled my way through the beginning of it. I was talking to Aidan the other day, and we were talking about this game. Neither of us could remember it having dogs, yet there are several sections of this game with dogs in them. And the dogs work surprisingly well, and it's something that you don't really see in many stealth games. Dogs working in a fashion that is worthwhile. If you're wondering what I did just then, I shut out the light, because that guy sees the body when he goes to that window, and that's why he had that little jog on that he did. And I shot the light out with the hopes that it would stop him from seeing the body, but as you can see, the lighting on the game is really good, so the exterior light's getting shone through the doorway and it's illuminating him. However, it didn't cost me anything because it didn't set an alarm off, and it actually helped me because I could knock him out and I could move through this next courtyard with Doherty on my back with no problems. However, the problems will soon begin again because this section coming up was really challenging for me. And I couldn't tell you why. Every so often the enemies would just know where I was. And that is a very common way of saying know where I was if you're unfamiliar with my accent. And I don't understand it. I carried this guy out the door of the next room a dozen times, not killing anybody in the room, and the moment I hit the doorway, everybody knew where I was. There was nobody beneath me, there's nobody looking at me, but all of a sudden the music started playing and shit kicked off. It was almost like it was a mandatory combat section. So I tried it again, I knocked out the two guys in the room, and then it was perfect when I got through the door. So it's just this really baffling moment of what the hell did they expect you to do there? I tried to stealth it, I tried to do the Splinter Cell thing, and it was like, nope, knock them out. And it's moments like that where it can be really frustrating. And this one is no different. It's a really tricky sequence coming up. Because there's two guys in the room, one of them is an engineer, and then outside I think there's three guys, and you have to carry this person to the exit. But this is the first one, this is where it gets a little tricky. This is the room where you seem to have to knock them out, because if you don't, you get the alarm. But he starts working, he turns his back to us. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer here. As soon as he walks away, I'm going to patrol this outer edge, and I'm going to dump this guy we're kidnapping in one of the pools of shadow. The dude with the gun, the soldier that's walking around, he's going to patrol all the way up to this door here, and then all the way back. That's the door that you go through, that if you don't take these guys out, you seem to get an alarm, and people start kicking your ass. You're not going to see that in this video, though, because I'm going to go Rambo and take these people. So I wait here. Couple of seconds and he's going to pass me, and then I'm going to follow him and I'm going to grab him. Be very careful. Following this dude, successfully grabbing him, is a work of art. For some reason that guy turned around more times than probably anybody in this entire recording. Sometimes I was moving too quickly, other times I don't even know what it was. It was almost like the dude knew. He just knew. You know, his spider senses tingled, he turned around and shot me in the jaw. This dude will move between the pipe that he did when we entered the room and the situation that he's currently in. As long as you get close to him, he takes one clop and he goes down like a sack of shit. Now, instead of picking up the guy, we're going to move outside and we're going to continue to stop some of these people. So the first guy is directly beneath us patrolling, and where he is depends on how long you took in that past room. So we can hear him whistling, and conversely to what the game tells you to do, I'm going into the light. Because you can do things like that, which I really enjoy in these games. Games where the enemies have stupid periphery vision, and when I mean stupid, realistic periphery vision. You know, there is no person on this planet who would have walked past that corner and not seen somebody there. Because you can't handle it, you know, your eyes are too good, you'd have to intentionally ignore people. However, eyes are too good. So when AI don't have that, and they're a little bit more, fallible, I really appreciate it, because it just makes it a lot more fun. So knock that guy out who's talking. And now, at this moment I think I'm in the clear, but it's wrong. There's still one dude patrolling this roof who I've just not seen. So I'm going to be running back to pick up the guy, and we're going to make him aware of us, which could have ended in tragedy, but it turned out to work in my favour. And it's all because of this body carrying mechanic. For some reason, you can't go down ladders with a body on your back, which makes perfect sense, but this is a game and you'd think you'd at least just hobble him on his shoulder and get creative with one hand. But he doesn't. So instead, I come up with a pretty funny shortcut, which I saved before I did it because there's a chance I could have killed him. But do you see him? That's the guy who's still on the roof. Be careful of him. So I tried to walk off the ladder with him, didn't work. Instead, I busted my ankle and I lost a little bit of life. Instead, I'm going to turn him around and I'm going to dump him the way we've been dumping bodies the entire game. And if he doesn't die, here's a strategy. So there's the dump. There's no Lambert yelling in my ear telling me I've done things wrong. and then we can go down and pick him up. I can't even begin to tell you how much it made me laugh what I just did. And as childish as it is looking back, I got the giggles. I chucked him off like a 12 feet drop. He didn't die. He's going to wake up feeling like utter shit, and it's all my fault. But bring him to the boys. It's then going to end the mission when you drop him. And then they're just going to talk a little bit. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.